Bad.
Bad?
Yeah.
Did anyone think it was bad? It wasn't bad. It's hard. You sounded really great. I think one of the challenges of playing show pieces is for when it's over, the audience to not say, wow, that looks hard. But instead say, she makes it look so easy. So that's the goal. You can play this piece now. So now what you have to do is to get it to the next level where it's easy, or at least seems easy. So there's a lot of wasted energy I think you're dealing with in the struggle here, okay? But a lot of it came through really well. And great company, by the way. That's a great part. I don't know this piece. I think a lot of it is just too fast. I also think you're not taking enough time in between the sections to kind of catch your breath and get ready for the next one. Some of the chapters can go together, but then we really need to pause every once in a while, or else we all get like a collective hyperventilation syndrome. Okay, so I think you want to relax a little bit. Can I just hear your very, very beginning without the piano? Because I would love to see if we can get a little more tone, even though some of it is piano. I think in general, I'd love to hear a little more projection in your sound. Okay? Play there even when you're piano, so it's going to project a lot more, okay? Yeah, so there's very little difference between your piano and your forte, okay? So my suggestion would be to play the first part much more at the tip, and then more bow, different part, okay? So do the same thing and really exaggerate your bow placement. The first one piano, right? So really at the tip, quite soft. I would also suggest when you have the dotted eighth notes, you need to have a little more resonance. If you look, you're squeezing the end of the note. So there's more ringing in the notes. Can you try that for every single gesture? Even though the rhythm is, you're going, you're stopping the note. Like that. Good. That makes a lot more sense to me. Also, I think because you're focusing on a nice ringing first note, the little notes that come after are not so compressed and tight sounding. I think it really helps, okay? Now, let's go to this next, the first variation here. A little bit sort of by yourself. take that wave and make it narrower, okay? Tendency is when you are coming to forte and you're in piano, it's a crescendo, and there's no real difference. So okay, you're kind of giving it away. Can we try this one with piano and really exaggerate the dynamics? First, without piano. One, you have to hear where you're going before you play. And secondly, when you make the shift, you have to release your finger and very lightly glide and then come down again. Okay? Otherwise, it's called guessing and hoping for the best. So you really want to do it slower. go now to the chord section. Okay? Just by yourself. Can we try to play these chords where you're going not it's 3-note. That's much better. I'm hearing a little more G string. You can have your arm in the middle, or even on the lower note. Okay, yeah, there you go. So just do those 4 notes. You play your first note, shift before you play, and just make your notes up. But what you're doing is you're doing both hands at the same time. And that means you have no margin for error. Okay? I was telling one of the violists in their lesson, it's like throwing darts. And sometimes you'll get the bullseye, but most of the time you won't. Right? For me, it's like, can I even get the target at all? So we want to do when we're playing the viola, we want to always make sure the left hand is ready and waiting before the bow plays. So the equivalent would be for a violist taking a dart and walking over and putting it there. And then they're always bullseyes, because you're just going to not give anything to chance. So you play the first chord, and after the chord, then you get ready, and you play, get ready, and play. Okay, try that. Even at that tempo, your 4th finger isn't leading. It should be the first one down. Okay? Good. This is also true for violin. So much of the time you need to have your 4th finger not waving at someone, but it should be over the fingerboard. Even if you don't need your 4th finger for that measure, the hand shape is ideal when your 4th finger is over the fingerboard. Not like this. And it also helps with your intonation. Okay? Let's try this whole variation with our pianist, variation 8. And don't play too fast. Focus more on the quality of sound. Okay? Very often, we don't practice vibrato when we're practicing slowly. But I think using vibrato is going to help our shifting, because it's kind of like a big vibrato shift. Same with these chords. If you can actually vibrate the chords, it has a warmer sound. Okay? How about, let's try the finale, not fast. And I just want to hear for intonation and for tone, for coordination. So don't worry about playing it fast. Very good. That's good. That's much better. Okay? When you get high, you tend to get tight. Okay? Everyone does. You have to actually use more bow when your left hand's here, and there's only that much string left. You need to use more bow for it to sound Good. Okay? So can you try it a little bit slower and exaggerate that idea of using more bow as you go higher up? Excellent. Now. Excellent. Okay? So it's a very, very quick process if you practice slowly. Okay? Now, let me hear. Right there. This is a challenging one because, again, the left hand tends to fall behind the bow. Let's try that variation. For each one, a little more articulation between each group so that it's a little pure, not kind of bleeding into each other, okay? There you're rushing, and your left hand isn't ready yet. Stops, your finger goes on the right note, the bow goes on the right string, and then, and only then, do you move the bow. Okay, that's the order. If the order is different, you get problems, okay? So that'll really help with your basic cleanliness of the viola, okay? The pizzicato is good. I know that's a hard one, but there's not too much.
Is there a better way to make the pits speak on the lower strings?
I think really it's about bringing it up. There's a really good pizzicato exercise where you can try to curl the hand up and pull up as if you're trying to rip the string off with your left hand. Yeah. Do you have any sections on this that we haven't covered that you'd like to try again, or?
I don't want to play the thirds again because I can't play them, but how do you play them?
Probably worse than you because I don't know this piece.
But is
Why
there
don't
like
you play the thirds slowly once? Okay. Like no rhythm, nothing but just focusing on how you play your thirds, okay? one thing you could do is play the third. So this is always waiting, okay? So when you do the slur, you can do it in staccato. And that'll also really help with dividing your bow so you don't run out of bow. Okay? Try it out. Da, 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 da. Okay? Good. Now, this is forte, right? So you want to really sound. A little closer to the bridge. That's great. Now connect those staccatos. Double stops. That's when you get a better sound. Okay? We often find ourselves pressing and at the same time playing away from the bridge, playing on the side of the hair, and those are all kind of counterintuitive things. So if you want to have more sound, flat hair, close to the bridge, faster bow speed, but don't press, because this doesn't make a good sound, especially when you're playing double stops. It's, really, the tendency is for it to kind of not have a good open sound, okay? I think of all of my favorite violinists from yesteryear, and what they all did was they used bow speed. They didn't press. You think of Oistrakh, or Milstein, or Heifetz. They didn't go, that's only now, right? For some reason, someone said this is a good sound. I don't know why, but I think a better sound is that, okay? So even though this is crazy hard, you're going to do great. Just look at this being elegant and take the time of your left hand, and I think you'll do great. Okay? Good. Why don't we move on to the next person?
I'm Jingyi, and I'm going to play the first movement of the Max Breaker in the number 1 in G minor. Thank you.
sometimes we're not going to feel prepared for whatever reason, and you have to play, and you have to sell it, right? That's why we practice, so that even when we're playing a C+ for us, will still sound great to them. So one of the hardest things about performing, I think, is not judging yourself when you play. I'm sure no one knows what I'm talking about, right? But it's so easy to get distracted by a mistake. But this isn't a jury. This isn't a competition. This is entertainment, right? We're entertainers here. So your job is to tell a story. And why is that? Because you can't imagine doing anything else in this world, right? Or else you wouldn't be here, right? So that's the goal. Now, in order to do that, you have to practice, right? Which we do. Of course, it's very busy here because everyone's doing chamber music and orchestra, and double orchestra, and practicing and parties. Just there's so much to do that it's really hard to find that sacred 1 hour of me time. But it's really important to find at least 1 hour. Okay, it's really going to help everything else. So it's funny. I loved what you're doing. And yet you and the other person have the same issues when it comes to the left hand not being set before you make a sound. Okay, this is a slower piece, totally different character, and yet similar issues. Okay, so can we try the very, very beginning with Lucy's piece? She's got all these crazy octaves, and so it's no wonder the hands sometimes get tied up. But this is a slower piece, but it's the same issue. You still have to make sure that your left hand is where it needs to go and vibrating before you start making a sound. It would be as if you're imagine there's a mom honking her horn in the car and telling her daughter, "You're late for soccer practice." "I'm coming." She runs with her cleats over her shoulder, and she's got her soccer bag, and she throws the soccer bag in the seat. She starts to get in the car, one foot's in, and mom takes off. Disaster, right? That's kind of what we're doing, right? The bow is the car. The bow shouldn't push things, okay? The bow should only make a sound when you're ready to. So try to get from the beginning. And don't be so concerned right now about rhythm. Instead, I want you to focus on every note being exactly ready and clear in your mind in terms of tone and your hand being set. Okay, so if things take a little longer, fine. So here, take time. Don't worry about it. Even right there, I heard extra notes. It's really. There's nothing I should hear in between. If you put your first finger on the B flat and the E flat at the same time, then you have a fighting chance to not have a gap. Okay? Also, everyone does this. The dynamic that he wrote is exactly opposite of what you're doing. And that's because everyone knows up-bow means crescendo, right? No, actually, up-bow just means this direction. Okay, so you could start. That's what you wrote. You want simply because it's an up-bow.
Okay.
Dim on the first note. There's no dim until the up-bow. So you have to actually go 1, 2, 3. But if you do this, you didn't write it. Right? Slow down. More. Oh, why'd you do it again? So another really important issue is bow speed. Okay, very often when we rush or we don't hold a note full length, People say, can't you count? Of course you can count. The problem is you didn't manage your bow. So when you're out of bow, what do? You're just going to go on, even if you're early, because you can't stop playing, right? So you have to really practice playing in different bow speeds. That's why it's really helpful to practice scales, different number of notes per bow. It really helps you control your bow. Okay? So again, in the very beginning, you want to use a much fuller, slow bow sound. And not dim. Okay? And then soft. You're going to have to use a lot of bow to get there. So you have to be light. And slow. More bow. But if you're doing fast, no.
Okay.
Okay?
I've got the
Okay, so
finger.
before the sixth, just play viola. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing a lot of what I call garbaggio between the notes. You really just want to hear. So your left hand, keep two down. Your bow is still on the C. Your first finger is getting ready. It's down. Okay? Just those two notes. Even though I'm hearing, you hear it a little bit? So try this. Stop. Finger. Change. Play. That's the order. Left hand, string, play. Freeze. First finger. Change strings. That's it. I mean, that's essentially the order. Good. Now, not like that. That's the order. So now, I heard stuff. I still hear stuff. It's in a crescendo. You're going like this. Instead, practice them in different voices.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do this in 3 stages. First, I'll take the bottom voice and I'll do any fingering I want to make it really sound nice. I get it a couple of times, I'll even like it more. And then I do the fingering that I have to do. Then I add the other finger. And each step is harder, but we want it to sound the same. Okay? And then we take the top voice, the same idea. Okay, now the fingering. And you put it together. And then it becomes quite easy. So this process of breaking it down into 2 different voices really saves time.
Okay.
That seems like a long process, but it only took like 90 seconds. Okay, before that I couldn't play it, now I can kind of play it. Same with you, okay?
Okay.
So let's go to, right there, okay? First of all, it's not faster. It's all adagio, right? Okay, so everything should be relaxed, and your focus should be on the most luminous viola sound you can have. My sense, when you're trying to play out, you're pressing. And so it has a little bit of an edgy sound, okay? Instead, use more bow speed, more vibrato, different kind of vibrato, but not pressing, okay? Try it from this low D again. It's not the piano, this is forte.
Yeah.
It's sempre forte, that's really quite loud there. Put more bow. my son would say, stupid big, right? Because you're not working at all. Now you're just opening up the sound, okay? And that's true for violin also. Actually true for cello too. In order to get the sound out, you've got to release the sound. They're not squashing it, okay?
Okay.
One more time here. Whole section. And when you get higher and higher, don't press, just use more bow.
Okay.
There is a diminuendo.
Yeah.
All right? Now right there, you squeezed it, right? You want... Don't squeeze, pull. And there's no dim. I actually didn't do that finger. I do it. Okay?
Okay.
Good. So just like up bows don't mean crescendo, down bows don't mean dim. There's no dim yet.
Yeah.
It's all big. So the way to know where you want to begin to dim is when you see the diminuendo. That's your loudest note. Okay?
Okay.
Have it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear how it
Yeah.
almost wants to crack the sound, and it's because you're pressing. You should. You know the movie Pinocchio?
I heard it.
You've heard of it?
Yeah.
A long time ago. It's about a little puppet that turns into a boy. But before he was a boy, he was a puppet. And puppets have strings everywhere. And then there's someone working the strings, right? So you're Pinocchio. And you have to imagine that there's a string holding your arm up, and holding your elbow up, and holding your head up. When I'm playing, I'm often on my toes because I just like this kind of I have to feel like I'm up, not that. Okay?
Okay.
So try that, Pinocchio.
Yeah, I'm like.
Slow bow. Yeah. So the first note is half as long as the second one. So you go like this. If you're going 30 miles an hour, 30, you're going to be done too soon. So instead, you have to go slower.
Okay.
Okay? If you're going 30 miles an hour on the highway, especially in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Not a good outcome. But can you imagine backing out of your driveway 30 miles an hour and way too fast?
Yeah.
So you have to use different bow speeds.
Okay.
Okay? So I think that really helps your sound to not push with your bow. Okay? Give your left hand a chance to get there before you just play.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Now how about yes. I think it's too fast and the notes are almost faked. So, stroke. Now can you make the notes a little bit more, I like to call them wetter. It's kind of, it's not a very musical sound. Okay? You went, because you're playing up though.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things that I myself do a lot is play new works that were written for me. And so I'm often working with composers and I love doing that. So when we get to play a piece that was written a long time ago, try to look at it with fresh eyes, as if it was written for you. As if you got this in the mail. Wow, this is for me. It's so cool. What do? Well, you look and see what he wrote. And your decisions shouldn't be based on your bow. It's based on the music. The bow serves the music, not the other way around. Okay?
Okay.
Let's go to this section. Okay? Actually, no, first. From this F natural. But you went da, right? Crescendo, that'd be fun. Also, there's lines, so. Okay, so don't be in a rush here.
Okay.
Let's listen to the note beforehand. or at least audio tape, just use your phone and press audio. Even when you're practicing a piece and it's nowhere near ready, just to see if you're on the right track. Play a phrase and see if you're actually doing what happens. Because very often the very opening, people go like this. Why? Because of the bow, a bow crescendo down bow dim. He doesn't write that. He writes that, which is totally challenging.
Yeah.
So you have to have a reality check, especially when you get really good like you. You have to really make sure that what you think you're doing and want to do is what you're actually doing. Okay? You have to be more self-aware. Okay? And then the second thing is make sure your left hand is always leading and your bow is pushing. Okay? But otherwise, it's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
So keep working on it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Annabelle, and I'm playing the exposition to the first movement of the Vibrato.
All right. Something easy. One of the best things about coming here is I get to hear all these great students, and they're really like young professionals. And so we're just here to kind of guide them along their way. And you just sound fantastic. I know this is a hard piece to play for a public, especially without piano or without an orchestra. So it's really hard to give that sense of what's going on. And when you're taking auditions, it's so important to let the committee on the other side of the chalkboard, who are really more interested in when's the pizza coming, to let them know that you understand what's going on in the piece when you're playing your part. Sometimes I don't get that sense. I got more of a sense that you were focused on playing cleanly And you totally succeeded. I mean, it was really accurate, and it was a beautiful sound. It was very in tune. It was very coordinated. But I felt like your world kind of went, and it was like this, okay? And that's, first of all, totally normal. Totally normal. But we have to remember that we're telling a story, okay? And this is one of the best stories to tell, the bar tab. You know? And so what I think you should try to do is to get into the habit of projecting your idea. Imagine if you have a friend back home that you haven't seen all summer, and you get to tell them that you were in Texas for 6 weeks and what you did. But they're across the street, and there are cars going by. What are you going to do? So I'll just text you. No, you don't have a phone. You're going to have to like really, really enunciate, project your ideas. And not only that, you have to give them a sense that you were excited. So you have to really sell it, right? Same with this. I'm sure all of you have had teachers, or maybe have teachers, whether it's private teachers or chamber music coaches, that talk about character consensus, yada, 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 right? It's not just about playing in tune and playing the notes in the right order, but it's also about what are you trying to say, right? This is a perfect example, you know. So many times I'll heard this piece with a really good player, and I'll ask them, so what are you thinking? I don't know, right? Like, well, it sounds like that, right? Okay, that's not how you were playing it, but I do think it would help you, help us to understand your story if you could exaggerate it a little more. So I'm just going to put it to you now. What were you thinking as you began? And I don't mean the terror. I mean, what kind of mood were you trying to portray? Or would you like to prepare to portray you didn't portray?
I don't know, it's not it just is kind of still, and like it comes out of nothing.
Yeah, so that's actually, we could really work at that. It's still, it kind of comes from nothing. So is it inward? Is it prayerful? Is it desolate? Is it lonely? Is it hopeless?
Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe a little cynical.
It's cynical. I like that. Cynical. Why don't you try that? And how long does that cynical side continue, do you think? Until it starts getting hot there? Okay, why don't you try that? But pretend that we don't know this piece, and you have to really exaggerate the cynicism, okay? Where you use every ounce of bow for every bow. So that's what I was hoping you would do. This is an ailment that most violinists and violists have to really guard against. The bulges going. It's like giving a commencement speech and someone comes from behind you and gives you the Heimlich maneuver at the same time. I'd like to, well, give you a wall for here. This doesn't really sound convincing, right? So what you really want to do is imagine how you would sing it. It looks like from your markings, you want to go to the middle of the measure. I could see that being very cynical because I would play which is perhaps a more warm, prayerful quality. But yours, I like that actually. You have to punchy. So a little more bow and a little more rhythmic. Okay? Last time again. Okay. Yeah. You're right there. You're right there. Say the 1, 2. I would try to be down low on that. I think it works a little better to not go backwards, but anyway, that was great. Now let's go to the next section here. What is your character idea for this section?
I don't know, it's a little, at least for the,
Mm-hmm.
only this part, it's
Mhm.
kind of, I mean, it's dance-like, it's kind of a little clunky. Like,
Clunky.
I'm just thinking of the orchestra part, like it's the,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, it's a little weird.
Yeah, like a broken toy.
Mhm.
But your melody, how would you play your melody? Let's focus on our tone. Okay, one of the things I've been seeing with a lot of the players is this inattention to how much hair is on the string. Okay, so it's a bit of a habit to play like this all the time. You want to always be with the flat hair. So even when you go to the frog, there's no reason to do that. That's just a huge motion that compounds the problem of a string change or a bow change. So instead, keep your arm level, and when you get to the end of the bow, just change the direction. That's all you have to do. There's no circle, there's no fancy way. No, just down, then up, and that's it. If you don't change the bow speed, if you don't change the angle of bow, if you don't drop your arm, then when you're finished with one note, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's all you have to do, okay? So when you play this next phrase here, I want you to focus on your bow change. Okay? Can you play it a little slower as if it's just a different tempo and a little bit denser, a little thicker sounding, okay? So here I think, we go to that note. So the second note has to really lead. So you're going to be a little bit slower and okay. More bow. Right? Okay. Now you're beginning to use your bow the way I think it was meant to. Okay, it's much better. It's much better to connect if you have more bow left as opposed to running out of bow, because then everything sounds closed. Okay, you have naturally a very beautiful sound, but now when you're opening your bow, it's so much richer and there's more volume and it sounds great. Okay. This section here, I think you need to use a little more bow in those passages. One thing you can do is you can do staccato. Try that once. right? A note's done. Next thing you do, fingers on the right note, bows on the right string, then move the bow. So put it together. Okay? Good. Now connect it. Try to have it from the 7 chord. Yeah, really you have time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have time. You always have time to make music, right? So take advantage of it. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And really use those 2 neutral lines. And then when you come after that, big forte, okay? So let's just try the first one again. The nice thing about the bridge is that it's curved. So you can actually go with your arm. It's just a circle. But you're playing it like your bow is octagonal, which is hard to do fast, which is why you're using very little bow. Instead, okay, so try it super slow and have the arm basically just gradually go like that. Now, you're still doing, and so you have to do it while you're playing one note. It's a lot of give. It's a lot of room for one note. Not, but, okay. Good. And much more better here with a flat hair. You're excited. It still looks a little bit like this. Another way of thinking about string crossings, for a split second, you should have a double stop. There was still a double stop, but you can't hear it because it's faster. Okay? That's a really good way of practicing this kind of thing. Let's go on to one more passage. Sounds so good. Let's do right there. Actually, right there. And a little bit under tempo because I want us to really focus on the intervals going. hear your throat pitch. But for viola, it's either perfectly in tune or it's just god-awful, right? There's no kind of in tune, right? So you have to really work on the intonation of these. And when you have this kind of passage, slow it down. One note per bow. There's really no tempo that's too slow to practice the intonation, okay? But then also you want to exaggerate those intervals. So the faster it is, you want to exaggerate a little more. The higher sharp, a little low, natural, that's it. Okay? Okay, one more time. Because it doesn't feel good to that, right? But when we hold the bow, for some reason, what doesn't feel good feels totally normal. Why? Okay, let's try one more time, a little bit slower. Balance your bow. Okay, you want to make sure you don't drop your notice that the sound is better too. It's a much better sound, okay? So this is also a common theme with, I think, all three of our victims. Don't drop the arm, don't squash the sound. Instead, have your arm balance and just float. And the sound just comes out so easily, okay? And that's going to make it easier to hear, right? It actually changes the pitch when you squeeze the string and you press down, okay? This is right down. Actually, the first one. Yep, much more low. More than me, but it's not as loud. Okay? Both speed. And the lowest one, even more bow. Okay, same thing. Now it's up now a little faster, the same idea. Questions? Wasn't so bad, is it? Good. Okay, great job.